Well, here's a scary thought. What if you eat nothing for a week? Whoa. Pizza, pasta, fries. How could you possibly give it all up? Without food, life seems to lose all its color. Plus, after a while, you sort of, croak. But what if you decided to quit eating for an entire week? How would your system respond? And is it as dangerous as it seems? We're going to answer all of these questions today. So make yourself comfortable, grab a snack – no, not really – and let's get started. Alright, here we go. Number 1. Your body's response to not eating. Let's start off by figuring out exactly what would happen to your body if you decided to stop eating. The changes won't be sudden. Well, wait a minute, then why do they call it a fast? Beats me. You see, for the first 6 hours of your no-food period, everything's going to be just fine. At this point, your body begins to break down glycogen, which stores energy in your body. Glycogen is the stored form of glucose. Part of this energy is used to fuel your brain. Other parts are for your muscle tissue and red blood cells. But after 6 hours, this process shuts down as the glycogen stores deplete. All these internal processes influence your mood too, and you become angry and hungry. True story, right? But it doesn't stop there. After 6 hours, your body enters a new phase called ketosis. To put it simply, your body begins to starve since there's not enough glucose in your blood. The only way for your body to survive is to break down fat for energy. It sounds exciting, especially if you want to lose weight, but it's way more complicated than that. Sure, your fat breaks into fatty acids, but your brain can't use these acids as a fuel. That's why your brain turns to ketone bodies for energy, and this solution works, but only for some time. Ketone bodies obviously can't replace glucose. All this leads to cognitive functioning impairment. After 3 no-food days, your brain goes to another extreme and starts to break down your body's protein. This happens because proteins release amino acids, which can be converted into the glucose your body so desperately needs. Your brain is finally happy, but now it's your body's turn to suffer. It starts to cannibalize itself by destroying muscle mass. Women may experience an additional problem. Their menstrual cycle can pause. In addition, both genders' bone density diminishes and their libido decreases. Definitely not good news, right? After 1 no-food week, your immune system becomes extremely weak because it isn't receiving any vitamins or minerals. It can no longer block the path to your system and say, "You shall not pass" to all diseases and viruses. And this is when it becomes quite scary. Many people can die from disease during this phase of their hunger strike. Their systems become more and more fragile each day as their bodies continue to use every energy source possible until there's nothing left. Such starvation may lead to death after almost a month or up to 70 days. The most common causes of death in such cases are cardiac arrhythmia and heart attacks, which happen due to the tissue degradation in the heart diaphragm. The duration of your life depends on how much water you drink and the amount of fat reserves your body has. And this is the end of the road for everybody. So the next time you see that sad news footage of refugees and other starving people, well, as Paul Harvey used to say, now you know the rest of the story. Anyway, who would want to even go 7 days without food after knowing all this, right? However, there's another side to this coin. Number 2. Water fasting. Nowadays, many people prefer to stick to periodical water fasting. As you've probably already guessed, there's one rule: you don't consume any food and drink apart from water. According to specialists, water fasting should last for no more than a couple of days, and a consultation with a doctor beforehand is obligatory. Some people follow this type of fasting for spiritual or religious reasons. However, others decide to take this step because of its long list of benefits. Among them are lower blood pressure, improved insulin and leptin sensitivity, lower cholesterol levels, and weight loss. But the list of people who strictly can't water fast is even longer. You have to remember that such a practice can be potentially dangerous if you suffer from lupus, an eating disorder of any kind, cancer, vascular disease, alcoholism, and many other cases. Once again, you must visit your doctor before you go any further with this option. If you want to water fast because of the weight loss factor, you have another option: intermittent fasting. This means eating nothing or just a few calories for a certain period of time, and then eating as usual for another period. The best example to illustrate this principle is the 5-2 diet, which involves eating regular meals for 5 days of the week and then a quarter of the daily calorie intake for the final 2 days. The studies show that both approaches give equally strong results, so it's all up to you. There's still one more critical study connected to water fasting. In 1973, a study conducted by the Department of Medicine at Scotland's University of Dundee followed the story of a 27-year-old man who fasted for 382 days straight. The results were fantastic. He went from weighing 456 pounds to 180 pounds. Of course, this was all done under the supervision of doctors and with the usage of vitamin supplements such as yeast, sodium, and potassium. But this was not the most amazing thing. Specialists continued to observe him for 5 years after his fasting ended, and his weight never went above 200 pounds ever again. This is impressive, right? But where should you start once you decide to water fast? Number 3. How to perform a water fast. When your doctor has given you the green light to proceed with water fasting, it's time to get down to business. The first and most important thing is to not jump into a long session of water fasting right away. Your first experience with it should last about 2 days. Listen to your body carefully during your first water fasting. If the experience is good and even comfortable, you can go on with longer water fasting intervals. Usually, people who pick a 7-day fasting period experience tiredness and even dizziness at first. But on day 4, many claim that this changes to a feeling of euphoria and mental clarity, which leads to fantastic productivity. As you plan your 7-day water fasting, try to pick a low-stress time in your life. Doing this during exam season or when you're moving house isn't the best time. The same applies to your work. Fasting isn't all sunshine and roses, unless of course you're a florist. It's hard and requires a lot of willpower. During this process, your work productivity can seriously decrease. Starting the water fasting gradually is also a great idea. You can skip breakfast the first week, and then skip breakfast and lunch the second week. You can allow yourself to eat only half a portion of your dinner the third week, and then you'll finally begin your water fasting the fourth week. Your system will definitely appreciate such a gentle approach. In general, men should drink around 13 cups of water, and women should aim for 9 cups daily during the fasting. Allow yourself to sleep for as long as you need, and avoid working out as well. When you're done with your fasting, you should break it slowly. Easily digested foods like soups, juices, pureed fruit, white rice, and mashed potatoes are the best products for your first 2 days. On day 3, add basic protein sources – eggs, chicken, broccoli, cottage cheese, and others. A couple of days later, you can increase the variety of your menu. The best thing is that you can easily keep your after-fasting weight permanently if you don't go for a burger or pizza as your victorious "fasting is finally over" meal. Most surprisingly, people often say that their desire for junk and unhealthy food decreases after water fasting, and they start to appreciate healthy food and its taste way more. One more bad habit goes out the window. But seriously, Water fasting isn't just a fun experiment. Your doctor is the one who should decide whether you can go for it or not. Millions of years ago, lots of animals used their tails to help them swim. When some of them left the water behind, their tails changed or disappeared completely. Imagine you live in a world where this last part didn't happen, and everyone has tails, including people. This gives them special abilities, but it all depends on what kind of tail they have. You were born in a big city and have a furry tail, a little like a dog's or a cat's. What do you need it for? Our pets use their tails to communicate. They can reveal a lot about the emotions a dog or cat is experiencing. In the same way, these human tails show how people feel. As you're walking down the street, a woman passes you. She's talking on her phone. Someone must be telling her some good news because her tail is wagging quickly from side to side. In the distance, you can see two guys talking to each other. Their tails are pointed up like pillars, which means they're getting angry and are ready for a confrontation. Even from this distance, you understand that they're not just talking, but arguing with each other. It's very difficult for people to control their tail when they're experiencing certain emotions. If a friend is smiling at you, but their tail is lowered, then you naturally try to cheer them up, because you can understand that they're in a bad mood. Those specialists who can read facial expressions to see if someone is telling the truth have also learned to read tail movements. This also makes it extra hard to play poker. Your wagging tail lets everyone at the table know when you have a good hand. Oh well. You reach the office and, once inside, see a colleague talking to the boss. The colleague's tail is tucked up behind their legs, so they're probably afraid. The boss is probably scolding them for a bad report, you think to yourself. Then you catch sight of your friend at their desk. You're happy to see them, so you begin to wag your tail. Yesterday was your birthday, and now your friend gives you a present. It's a round-the-world airplane ticket. Great friend. You go home after work and pack your suitcase. You remember to take all the clothes and accessories you need for your tail. Fashion is a little different in this world. Some people like to wear rings on their tails, while others give theirs fashionable haircuts or shave them and get tattoos. But the most fashionable people of all have peacock tails. These animals use their tails to scare off predators and also to impress other peacocks. Just like this showy bird, humans use their peacock tails to make themselves look beautiful. Most of them work in the fashion industry. They spend half the day taking care of their tails and the rest of their time on catwalks or at photo shoots. Your suitcase is packed, you go outside and realize you're late for your flight. You run to your taxi, moving much faster than ordinary human beings. That's because your tail is not just for communication, it also gives you much better balance. You can walk on a narrow curb and not fall off, and easily jump over obstacles. You reach the airport, board your plane, and fly north. It's summer, so instead of snow, you see green fields and meadows. Cows and horses are grazing all around. Their tails help them ward off flies and other annoying insects. You see people with the same kind of tail, small ones with a tuft at the end. Since they're great for sweeping and swiping, they use them as brooms. The streets here are really clean. They also come in handy in the evenings, when there are lots of mosquitoes around. With their tails constantly swishing at the little critters, these people don't get bitten very often. You journey farther north. There's a lot of snow here, and it's very cold. You put on a coat and place a warm cover on your tail. But the locals here don't need these covers. Like foxes, they use their bushy tails as blankets. They not only keep them perfectly warm, but like alligators' tails, they also hold a large amount of fat. This helps them stay full and energetic even in winter. But you're getting cold and decide to fly down to the south. It's very hot here, so you put a little hat on your tail to protect it from the scorching sun. The cities in this country are surrounded by jungles and rainforests. In this environment, many people shave their tails to keep cool. You arrive at your hotel, and they offer you a regular room or a room inside a tree. You're intrigued and choose the tree room. In this region, the houses are built right inside the trees. It's difficult for you to climb up to them with your ordinary tail, but the locals find them really comfortable. Lots of people here have monkey tails. They can use them to grab the trees and balance on branches. Their tails are like third hands, which give them a lot of agility and speed. This extra hand has a lot of advantages. They can be used to cook food and browse through your phone at the same time. These people can also use their tails as chairs just by leaning on them. But the coolest thing they can do is swing from tree branches, holding onto them with their tails. You meet some of the locals. They hold out their tails instead of their hands to say hello. Your new friends take you to an unusual music concert. The performers have noisy tails like a rattlesnake's. These animals normally use their loud tails to scare off enemies, but here the musicians just use them as instruments, like maracas. At the concert, you meet people who have reptilian tails. These guys don't worry too much about losing their tails if there's an accident. If their tails comes off, it'll grow back completely in a couple of months. Reptiles use this ability to escape from predators. For the people here, though, it means they can put on spectacular magic shows. You're also very impressed by the people that have scorpion tails. Scorpions use the stingers on their tails against enemies, but these guys use them for medicine. Scientists recently discovered that scorpion venom can be used to treat diseases. So while they may look fearsome, people with scorpion tails are actually really good doctors. After a couple of days in the hot climate, you head out to the coast. Here, you meet people with fish tails. They look like mermaids, but they can't breathe underwater. Their tails help them to swim fast, dive, and ride on their surfboards. There are also people with kangaroo tails. They've created new kinds of sports, like tail fencing and arm wrestling with their tails. These guys like going to the gym to work on their tail muscles. At the end of your journey, you meet people with the most useless tail of all – pigs' tails. There's no use for their tails, but they still look very sophisticated and beautiful. With a tail like this, you can become a model or a movie star. Life sure would be different if people had tails, but if it all sounds a bit weird, think about this. There's a small bone at the bottom of our spine called the coccyx. This is what's left of the tails our ancestors had millions of years ago. But this hidden tail isn't useless. It still helps us to sit properly. And that's the end of this tale.
What will happen to your body if you eat an avocado every day? The avocado is a unique fruit with multiple nutritional benefits. Numerous studies continue to show its incredible effects on our appearance and health. So what if you ate just one avocado a day? How would your body respond? And would the results really be that amazing? We'll answer all those questions and more in this video, so keep watching. Number 9. Your breath will be fresh at all times. The primary cause of bad breath is indigestion and an upset stomach. But there will be no more of that once you make an avocado part of your daily menu. This fruit has antibacterial and antioxidant flavonoids, which kill bacteria in your mouth and make your breath fresh. It's so good at doing its job that it may even prevent oral cancer. Yes, you heard us correctly. Scientists from Ohio State University conducted a study, and it showed that nutrients from Hass avocados can thwart oral cancer cells, not only killing them, but also preventing precancerous cells from developing into full cancers. So we suggest it's time to throw your breath freshener away and replace it with a delicious avocado. Number 8. Your kidneys will work more efficiently. There's a miraculous mineral to be found in avocados – potassium. Remember its name. We'll talk about it a bit later. Anyway, potassium helps your system keep a healthy fluid balance through chemical channels for cells and organs. A good fluid balance allows your kidneys to function better. That's why avocados are highly recommended for patients with kidney disease. But there's one small exception. If you suffer from hyperpotassemia, you should stay as far away from avocados as you possibly can. The high amount of potassium contained in this fruit is dangerous for you and can lead to all kinds of unnecessary health problems. If you don't have this condition but are still doubtful as to whether you should add avocados to your diet or not, consult your doctor to get the whole picture and find out all the details. Number 7. Your cholesterol and triglyceride levels will decrease. High cholesterol or triglyceride levels are never good, but what matters most is that cholesterol and triglyceride markers are linked to increased risk of heart disease. Not exactly good news, right? But that's when avocados come to the rescue once again. There are two types of cholesterol. low-density lipoprotein, or LDL, which can form plaques in your arteries, and high-density lipoprotein, or HDL, which behaves way better in your system by transporting excess cholesterol to your liver, which later removes it from your body. Specialists from Mexico conducted a study that showed how eating avocados regularly lowers the bad LDL cholesterol and blood triglycerides by up to 22%, and increases the good HDL cholesterol by up to 11%. Just one more reason to fall in love with avocados. Number 6. Your liver will function more efficiently. Health concerns regarding the liver can be hard to solve, but let's be real, nothing is impossible for avocados. This fruit is actually one of the best products for a liver-friendly diet, and that's all thanks to its ability to help your body produce glutathione. The liver desperately craves this antioxidant to filter out harmful substances and protect its cells from damage. Avocados also contain vitamin C and E, a powerful combination that can neutralize free radicals in no time, protecting your liver even more. Vitamin E can also team up with vitamin K, also found in avocados, to quell cellular inflammation. So one small avocado can truly be your liver's protector against a surprisingly wide variety of conditions and all things evil. A true jack-of-all-trades of the fruit world. Number 5. Your blood pressure will become lower. If you suffer from high blood pressure, avocados should be your best friends at all times. Remember the potassium that we talked about earlier? Its ability to regulate the fluid balance benefits your blood pressure too. In this case, potassium prevents osteoporosis and, most importantly, lowers your blood pressure. This was confirmed by many studies, including one conducted by the Department of Physiological Sciences at the Federal University of Espírito Santo in Vitória, Brazil. The final results were quite impressive. People who consumed mostly potassium-rich foods had systolic blood pressure that was 6 mmHg lower and diastolic blood pressure that was 4 mmHg lower. So, if you're still looking for menu changes that might lower your blood pressure, avocados should be at the top of your list. Number 4. Your vision will improve. Your eye health is closely connected to your overall well-being, which in turn significantly depends on what you eat. And out of all the products available, your eyes will certainly appreciate the inclusion of avocados in your daily food intake. The thing is, avocados are high in antioxidants, especially carotenoids called lutein and zeaxanthin, which protect our eyes against harmful blue light. A study conducted by specialists from China stated that the intake of these carotenoids is proportional to their levels in the retinas. So the more lutein and zeaxanthin-rich foods you eat, the healthier your retinas will be. French and English scientists also stated that lutein and zeaxanthin reduced the risk of cataracts and macular degeneration. Seriously, is there anything avocados can't do? Number 3, you'll have extra protection from cancer. The ability of avocados to give that extra bit of protection from cancer comes from the carotenoids and monounsaturated fat they contain, both of which make their own contribution to the impressive reduction of cancer, including breast cancer and prostate cancer. Numerous studies conducted by specialists all over the world showed that avocados' organic compounds cause cancerous cells to undergo apoptosis, or, to put it simply, automatic cell death. Quite a result for a simple fruit, right? Although there is still much research being conducted in the hope of determining the other cancer types avocados can help, their positive effects on the system remain undeniable. Number 2, you'll lose weight. Apart from all the other components and elements, avocados are rich in fiber, which is essential for making those unwanted pounds disappear. Fiber is incredibly filling and digests slowly. The dietary guidelines for Americans state that women should eat at least 0.8 ounces of fiber every day. An appropriate dose for men is 1.26 ounces. And the most amazing thing is that you don't have to make any other changes to your diet. The daily consumption of fiber will do the trick for you. If you want to achieve a stronger effect, eat other fiber-rich foods, such as apples, green beans, sweet potatoes, and strawberries as well. Or you can simply combine your daily avocado consumption with exercising. It's not the easiest path, true, but the final results will definitely astonish you. Number 1. Your skin will get a beautiful glow. Avocados can work their magic both from the inside and on the outside. They frequently become part of natural homemade remedies as well as expensive and luxury cosmetics. And their inside effects are truly glorious. As you already know, avocados are a great source of vitamin C and E. Vitamin C is known for its involvement in the creation of collagen and elastin, which help to maintain the skin's elasticity and firmness. Vitamin E takes it to a whole new level, reducing the damage of excessive sun exposure and counteracting aging. Avocados are also rich in omega-9 fatty acids, and they're crucial for maintaining moisture in the epidermis and regenerating epidermal cells. As a result, your skin becomes soft, and any irritations and redness are quickly reduced.
Imagine a classic Mexican standoff. Dust everywhere, the wind rolling tumbleweeds around 3 nervous figures, frozen in place, not even blinking. The first to blink will give his opponents a fatal moment to shoot first. How weird would it be if none of them blinked at all for minutes, hours, or maybe days? What would happen then? This comical situation may sound absurd to you, but there are actually people that gather together just to stare at each other for as long as they can without any Wild West stuff at all. Yep, staring contests are an actual thing. In fact, the most famous staring contest happened in Darwin, Australia. I know the name is ironic, considering the mindlessly dangerous competitions. Nevertheless, this particular competition was called So You Think You Can Stare, and it was there, in 2012, in the final staring duel between 2 men, appropriately named Eyesore and Staremaster. One of the world records for time without blinking was set: 40 minutes and 59 seconds. That's like watching an episode or 2 of your favorite series with your eyes wide open the whole time. For most of us, it sounds almost impossible, but contestants use some clever tricks to achieve this kind of endurance. First of all, there are, of course, various eye drops that help keep eyes moist for a long period of time. But they're strictly banned in most competitions and shouldn't be used without asking a doctor first. Participants of staring competitions use yawning instead. Yes? Did you ever notice how your eyes become wet when you yawn too hard? It definitely works, and no one can ban yawning. That would be too cruel. Another trick is in squinting. If you can't fully close your eyes, at least squint them to keep them from hurting. And finally, contestants won't usually look directly in the eyes of their opponent. Instead, they zone out and dive into deep meditation, while also making sure that their eyes stay open. This helps to not only numb their feelings a bit, but also to deal with tricks the opponent might pull, like trying to be funny. That's a legit strategy. Even with all these ploys implemented, keeping yourself from blinking doesn't sound fun. I don't recommend doing something like that, and soon I'll explain exactly why. The record setter, Eyesore, came out of this battle victorious. But he likened the feeling to getting a tattoo on his eyeballs. Ew, sounds painful. But why is blinking so important for our eyes? Mostly because they need to be moisturized all the time. Each movement of our eyelids covers our eyes with 3 layers of tear liquid. The first is packed with protein to nurture eyes and help other layers to spread evenly on top of it. The second layer is more like water, but it's full of minerals that also help the cornea of an eye to work properly. And the last layer is oily in nature. It protects our eyes from drying out and from dust and particles that might damage it. So, basically, we blink because our eyes need moisture and protection from dust, right? Seems pretty simple. Well, here's a giant curveball for you. Little babies don't blink as frequently as an adult person. When you read books or watch TV, you also blink much less often, even though your eyes experience extra stress. And finally, fighter jet pilots, while they're in training simulations, blink frequently in friendly territories and less frequently in hostile situations. But it has nothing to do with eye moisture. And if all these contradictions are not enough for you, then consider this. We blink right between sentences when we read books, and between different scenes when we watch a movie or a TV show. Also, when we talk to each other, it's like we finish every phrase with a blink before we continue to speak. This information was studied by a group of neurophysiologists from Osaka University in Japan under the leadership of Professor Tamami Nakano. On the basis of clinical observations and experimentations, they developed the theory that a brain needs frequent reloading, just like clearing the cache of a browser to make it work faster. This reloading happens in the blink of an eye, literally. Every time you blink, your brain finishes processing one portion of information and gets ready to process the next one. This is why pilots blink much more when they don't need to concentrate so much. The same applies to the reason why babies don't blink as often. They're constantly soaking in tons of information about the world around them in their early years. But why is blinking associated with resetting information in the brain? Japanese scientists may have an answer to that question too. But first, let's consider the following. An average person blinks more than 21,000 times a day. That's one blink every 2 to 3 seconds. That means you spend around 36 minutes a day in a blackout just because of blinking. You'll miss at least 5 minutes of a movie, and in an hour-long drive, you go for 3 minutes with your eyes closed. Even if each blink takes only 1/10 of a second, you must have noticed something, right? Don't worry, your brain is already taking care of it. It fools you every time you blink. This moment of darkness just cuts out from the stream of visual information you receive. Your brain literally restricts itself from the ability to process any visual information every time you blink. This not only allows you to see clearly no matter how much you blink, but also gives your brain a much-needed rest. This moment of peace is exactly what resets your brain's cache, as I called it before. Eye blinks only look like they have no particular order, but they happen only when they're needed to reload information or moisten the eyes. Even if you don't want to blink, your brain will make you do it sooner or later. Each one of our eyelids is controlled by a muscle called the orbicularis oculi, and it's the fastest muscle in your whole body. Part of this muscle works completely at its own will. It moves without your command no matter what. And that's definitely for the better, because your eyes might take a lot of damage without blinking. So, what will happen if you stop blinking? First of all, people around you might think that you're some kind of a weirdo. Nah, I'm joking. That's not what we're discussing here. Let's get a bit more serious. You really don't want to hold yourself from blinking, period. The damage would start almost immediately. As soon as your eyeballs start to dry out, tiny particles will settle down on their surface and start to scratch it. The cornea of an eye is especially delicate and will start to burn immediately, pushing the eyelids to close as soon as possible. Then tears will flow. It will be literally a waterfall of tears, trying to wash away any dust that already settled on your eyes. Eventually, your eyesight would lose all sharpness because of the cornea's drying out. The final result would be irreversible damage that may cause you to lose your eyesight altogether. Fortunately, because of how blinking works, your brain won't let this happen. So, even in a Mexican standoff, someone will blink uncontrollably.